Hello there, my name is Nick from DIY Purple, and today I'll be teaching you how to make this radial brushed metal-esque emblem as well as your standard horizontal brushed metal. Okay, so this is actually a very on the keyboard. Hotkeys, very important in terms of knowledge. Okay, so to ease into this, we'll start off with your standard horizontal brushed metal. And to create a perfectly square marquee or a perfect anything marquee, hit shift while dragging it out. That keeps all the proportions equal to one another. So we make our perfectly square marquee, then we just get a gray color. Go to our paint bucket tool by hitting G on the keyboard and then filling that in just with your standard mouse click. Now we have this gray blob here. Now we're going to duplicate it. Hit Control J on the keyboard. That duplicates. It will be selected on this top layer here. We're going to hit Select Pixels. That's a left, or rather a right click on the picture itself. Not next to the picture on this side, not next to the picture on this side. It has to be on the picture. And then you hit Select Pixels. And you got the marching ants around here saying you did indeed select the pixels. Now we're going to go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise, and it will be Uniform Noise on Monochromatic. The amount of noise you want can vary. You want a lot of noise, but I recommend a lower amount since we're going for a brushed metal look and not a, I don't know, TV static, I suppose. So we'll hit that to get that amount of noise there. Now, this part is what makes it all come together. You go to Blur, Motion Blur, and boom. Just with an angle of 0, or even if you want, you could do like a thatched thing. Really, any angle you do, you're going to get a good blur. But this is standard horizontal stuff, so we're going for 0. And then the distance of around 27 to 30, maximum really 40 pixels, and boom. You have a very beautiful, but simple looking brushed metal look. And if you're asking why do we have this duplicate layer under here, that's because without it, you get kind of a ghosting transparent effect. Because you're blurring, Photoshop is sampling the image and blurring it on both sides, and that creates this look. And the more that you blur it, the more pixels that you blur it by, the bigger these gaps will be here on the side, the more transparent you'll have. So that's why you have this layer back here. And then you're just going to select both of these layers, hold shift to do so, and click each, and then hit Control E. That's essentially merge. That's the short key for merge. So boom, simple horizontal brushed metal, but you want more. You want more than just that, and you know what? I like you for wanting more. So we'll hit Control N or Control Shift N to make a new layer once again. Hit M to go to the Marquee tool, hold down Shift and drag to create your perfect looking little square. Hit G, click. Fill up that marquee with gray. Go back to noise, add noise. Put that put that lovely amount of noise back in here. And this time we're not going to select the layer. We're not going to select the pixels here. Instead, we're just going to go into blur and then radial blur, circle blur. I put my amount on to 26 with a spin thing, and we'll go for best quality. And we'll hit OK. And look at that. Looks kind of crazy, right? Looks ugly, but look right in the center. You have that beautiful looking twisties there. But that's not all. It doesn't really look perfect to something you may see on, I don't know, professional looking things, I suppose. So I'm going to make a new layer here. And just hit shift and drag out the rounded corners shape tool. Now, usually it would start on your more than likely oval or rectangular tool. But there are many tools here. If you hold down left click and you look around, look at all these things. But again, we don't want to use the mouse that much. That's not what we want to do. So, when you hit your hotkey, in this case it is U, also hold shift and hit U. And this cycles you through all the potential tools in that set. We want the rounded corners rectangle, and we'll hit shift, drag that out, and we get a nice looking thing here. Now what is this for? Well, I'll show you what it's for. Select the pixels, or rather, my bad, you're going to want to rasterize the layer, so then we could select the pixels around here. We want them to be marching ants. We'll turn this off, and we'll select the kind of blurry square radial layer. Now, what we want to do is we want to get rid of all this extra junk here on the sides, but we selected the pixels for the inside. So how do we flip this around? Well, it's very easy. Just hit Control-Shift-I. It's basically Control-Shift-Inverse, and that inverses your selection. So anything that wasn't selected is now selected, and anything that was selected is no longer selected. You could tell the outside is selected because the marching ants go all the way around here. Now just hit Delete, and you get rid of all that unwanted junk. Excellent. Now we have that, and we'll just go here and select the pixels to show you, yes, we really do got that. Now we're going to go into our gradient tool. Now that's G, but that lands us on the paint bucket. So again, that's Shift G until we hit the gradient. I already have this gradient here made, but I'll make a new one. So just select any gradient, really. I just go for this one because, I don't know, it has 3 colors in it. And what we're going to do is select this middle color here, set this to a darker gray. Then select the outermost color, put that to a white, and do the same for this color here. Now you're going to want to click down here. You'll notice, you'll click here, little hand, click that, you make a white, click that, you make a white. Now we'll go and click right here, get another white, but we're going to change it this time to more of a lighter gray. And you'll do the same right here as well. You got their lighter looking gray. Now we'll drag this around to kind of get a good balance. It's pretty good at this point, and great. You hit OK. Now we're going to select the kind of gradient that we want. Now it usually starts here on the radial gradient. If you'll drag this out, you'll see it's all horizontal gradient. What we want is called the angle gradient. Now you may think you want to do a radial gradient, which is something like that. That's not right. We don't want that. What we want is more of that kind of shine you have going on. And you'll see what I'm talking about right there. Look at that. Doesn't that kind of remind you of something? Maybe like the thing that we want to be making here? Reminds me of that. But before you even make that gradient, do Control-Shift-N once again, because we're making this gradient on a new layer. Never forget to do that. Always make sure that when you're doing something is what layer you want to put it on. Because if you accidentally put it on this layer, you could not do the next step. So just hit Control-D to deselect the area you had before. I don't believe I mentioned that. And now we're going to go into blending modes. Blending modes are here. They basically change change the way that a layer above another layer interacts with each other. And we'll be focusing more on blacks and whites because that's what this is. We're going to hit multiply. And look at that. Look at that. It already pretty much looks like brushed metal. I'm going to lower the opacity down to around 90%. Make it, bring a little bit of light back in there. And look at that brushed metal. It's totally there. You have your brushed metal look, and if you want to make a group out of something, you basically just select what you want to make, just hit one of these things and Shift, and you click on there, holding Shift while doing so. That selects everything in a group. If you want to select things individually, like you wanted to select the bottom layer here and the top one, you just hold Control. But I want to select all of the things, even the one in the middle. So I'll just hold Shift. So we'll do that and then hit Control-G. That puts it into a group. And then you double-click the name. I'll just call this Shine. I don't want to misspell metal. That'd be embarrassing. So you got that, and you had your horizontal look. But we want to turn this into an emblem because this is fine on its own. And honestly, if you were to shape tool around this, you would have your own nice little radial brush stroke looking thing, but I want a little bit more. So we're going to go into this and hit Control-E to merge layers like we've done before, and we're going to duplicate this layer. We'll select the layer on the bottom. And now what we're going to do is hit Control-T. That brings up your transform options. And I'll make this a little bit bigger. And I'll also turn it black. I hit Control-U, by the way. Control-U brings up, oh no. Okay, funny thing, Photoshop just crashed, but nonetheless, I got to where we were basically beforehand, and we'll go back and get all this working together again. So again, we'll duplicate this layer here, We'll get to the bottom layer, and then hit Control T to expand it. Just make it bigger. We could worry about that. Then I want to bring up the hue and saturation. Again, Control U brings up this, and I'll just put the lightness down to 0. Lightness doesn't really matter here in particular. So we'll go there, and we'll just kind of drag this out and surround the thing pretty much evenly. It doesn't have to be entirely even. I'm not going for the professional look here. You, however, if you want to do this right, make sure it's even. Now, we're going to go up here, again, hit Select Pixels, and go down here and just hit Delete. What we want to do is keep only the outside of this. So in a way, it kind of surrounds the inside here. Now, why would we ever want to do that, you may be asking yourself? Well, it's very interesting. I'm just filling up some of the white that we got on the edges here, just using a brush for that. Okay, the reason why we're going to do that is because we're going to make this look fancy, really fancy. And we're using layer styles, and layer styles apply effects to everything. Specifically, we're going to be using bevel. And if we had the entire object here, it would bevel everything, not just the edges that you would want them to be beveled. So you got to be kind of smart about it. So we're going to go here, and we're actually going to first do a drop shadow on the actual metal thing, metal layer. So we're just going to find a drop shadow, or rather, my bad, inner shadow specifically. And we're going to choose this hump thing here. We're going to get rid of the distance, and we'll keep the choke the same, but increase the size just a little bit and lower the opacity. Bring it up just a bit. Okay, fine. We got that. Then we're going to go down here and hit Bevel, Contour, and Gradient Overlay. Go to this Gradient Overlay. We're going to, once again, make ourselves kind of that radial looking gradient we had before. But we know what we're doing here. It's quite simple. Oh, a bit of a darker gray, though. It's not. Let's do this right. Darker gray, white, white, new white layer, layer here, layer here. We'll change this to a gray. And honestly, I should have changed this to gray before I hit it again so the gray layer would stick, but that's fine. You do that, you hit OK. We'll go with a angle thing here. Mess with the angle a bit till you get the look that you kind of want. You want the usually match up with itself. And you could also drag it around and it kind of adjusts where the positions of the layer are. I'm actually going to what am I going to do here? I'm going to quickly just go in the Control U and bring up the brightness on the underlying gray layer just so it's not pitch black. So we have that, and now I'm just going to basically get this looking right. I think it's a little bit too white in places, so I'll kind of lower the general whiteness just a tad to kind of, because all of this is a bit darker as well. So I kind of want that to share said features. So we have that. Then we'll go to our bevel emboss here. We'll go for a bit of a soft chisel and then soften it up a lot so you don't get some ugly looking corners, because you don't really want that in particular. I don't know about you. Then we'll just get our size of the bevel here and have our depth a little bit. Make it lighter for sure. So get rid of some of that. Even texture it if you wanted to. There's not really much of a texture you could use here, though. I mean, unless you really want to make it small. Like, that could work. I don't honestly think it will work too well, though. It's all about just getting that balance. If you wanted to go with that there, but I don't. I have a better idea. At least in my mind, I do. So we have this. I still want to get it, honestly, a little bit darker if I had the chance here. So maybe we'll get this darkest color here and we'll make it more of a black. You could hit that, and maybe one of these things here, make it more of a gray. That's more of a difference. I like that a lot. Okay, great. We have that. Now we're just going to hit Control J to duplicate that, And we'll just turn off the effects. I'm not really into that for this particular layer. And we'll go into noise, add noise, bring up some of that monochromatic Gaussian noise in this case. Pump it up just a bit. Now we're gonna select the pixels here. Filter, blur, motion blur. Go at a bit of an angle, honestly. That never hurt anyone. We got that. And then you'll just multiply once again. And you could drop the opacity on this to get just the right effect. And now we're down to only having to do the emblem. Emblems here are very easy. Very easy indeed. I'm gonna just make that weird thing I had before that I showed you when doing this. That weird kind of eye cross thing. I don't exactly know what that was. It's just spitballing, you see. It's just spitballing. Spitballing's fun. People like balling spit. I do, I suppose. I love doing that. Not gonna look as pretty first time though. I'll shrink it up. I'll make it look good. I'll make it look good for all you guys. I believe the power of a somewhat good looking logo. It actually looks kind of like a cross, but it's not that. I assure you it's not. Okay. And we'll make one more thing here, just the square, holding down Shift on the Marquee tool once again. Oh, I put that on the same layer, but that's fine. Just select it with the Marquee tool, hit V so you can move it around and cut it, just like the picture stated. Bike in the background. Very noisy bike in the background, may I add. Not fun. Don't be that guy with the noisy background bike. And on Control T, you could rotate it if you're kind of hovering around the edges. This is a lot less pretty looking than the first one, but that's fine. Okay, then we'll go back into layer styles here. Bevel and emboss. You could bring it down, and in this case, to also bring it down, we'll just do emboss. And then we'll make it more of a hard chisel, or rather a softer chisel. Get the size going right here, pretty much. Could increase the depth. Add a little bit of contour. Contour doesn't do much in this regard, but you can still do it. And for a texture, again, if you wanted to. In this case, the texture doesn't look, honestly, doesn't look like it's the worst thing ever. So we'll just do that. And we'll go for a radial blur there. And we'll flip it around in this case. So we'll go here. And we'll move that a little bit. And okay. Boom. There you go. You have your lovely looking radial emblem. Just like that. All in Photoshop. And may I say, it looks somewhat professional. I suppose so. And again, not very hard to do. Everything was done within Photoshop. And really, the largest effects were done with tools given to you immediately. The only thing we had to figure out on our own was the actual metal brush effect. But that's just noise plus blur. So, again, very easy thing to do that you could apply to almost any other project you work on. It's really amazing how far you could take this stuff. Yeah, that's why I love Photoshop. It's a little one extra tool for your soon-to-be massive tool belt if you're just starting out. And it's always good to have a refresher course if you're kind of deep into this. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this on DIY Purple. Check out any other tutorials we have up. If we have them up. Now, no, not everything on this channel necessarily is a tutorial, but it's about celebrating art and the process of making art or pieces of it. So it's all cool to really see how people and their workflow go. Anyways, once again, thank you for watching and have a great day.